I would like to start this video with a kind thanks to Yoginsha because I saw this article because of their tweet. And also nice Uzaki-chan profile picture. So they say, Sony did it. JP devs now openly saying that they are worried about remaking a game because it is quote-unquote too lewd for today. Let's take a look at the article. So this article comes from a website, Dual Shockers. I'm not familiar with them. I don't believe I've ever used their website before, but I did skim through this report already, and it looks like it's pretty good work. So here's what they say. Kazuya Ninao wants to remake Fate Extra CCC, worried about the game being too lewd. It could be getting a remake following the release of Fate Extra Record. As you already know, Type Moon Studio BB held a livestream for the 10th anniversary of Fate Extra on July 22nd, where director Kazuya Ninao shared multiple comments, most notably his wish to remake Fate Extra CC. And there is a video of that right here. It starts at the 17-minute 50-second mark, but of course it's in Japanese, so, you know, I'll play a couple seconds of it. Here's what they say about that. Around the 17-minute 50-second mark on stream that I just showed you, Ninao goes, I need to say it. I definitely want to remake CCC too, but nothing is decided yet, as he kept discussing with Kanueda in Rin's appearance. They both jokingly mentioned how lewd the game is. Fate Extra CCC has character designs by Aruka Wada, and she really went all out with certain things. The latest design, in particular, is pretty funny. Once you've heard Wada really likes heels. CCC overall has multiple fan service-themed CGs, multiple half-dressed men, and a peculiar final boss. He now said he's worried about releasing the game nowadays. Wow, I mean, let's just talk about that for a moment. That's crazy. He's worried about releasing the game nowadays, and they do bring up Sony. Let's actually keep reading, and then we'll talk about that. He'll take some time to think about all that as he keeps working on Fate Extra Record. Ninao was probably referencing how Sony, for over a year now, tends to randomly censor Japanese games on PS4 and Vita compared to their Switch, PC, and Xbox One releases. Yeah, the Sony censorship has really been crazy. And if people in Japan are taking notice of it more and more, well, maybe that's a good sign of things to change at Sony. Or maybe some people can start competing with them. Good luck, though. Sony is such a giant corporation. They are in so many industries, at the top of so many industries, too. They make so much money. Good luck competing with that. But, you know, man, it's a complicated situation. We do need more competitors, but how do you compete with Sony? It's all very complicated. Anyways, I'm not saying it's impossible to compete with them. There are other very large companies as well. And, of course, startups, independent companies, gaming companies, and stuff like that do exist, and some do very well. But you know how it is. They say, and doing so without regard to the age rating the game has in the first place. Personally speaking, I strongly disagree with Sony's current way of doing things. It's similar to how cultural racism, with how it seems to believe the land of freedom and justice is always right. That's actually really well said. And that these kind of Japanese games are inherently problematic and need to be changed rather than explained. It's particularly worse as it tends to be very random. So, who translated all this, by the way? I mean, I'm curious about that, because again, as far as I understand, this was all in Japanese. I'm very curious if these translations are accurate. I mean, this whole thing is in Japanese, no? Yeah, man. So, I mean, I'm going to assume that they're accurate, but like I said, I haven't used this website before, so grain of salt and all that. Anyways, Japanese studios don't really know what to change or not. Changing things after development also costs money. Oh, yeah, and it's doubly so. This is the thing that really gets me about changing things after development, because you spend the money to make it a certain way, right? And then you spend money again to change what you already spent money on. It's so silly. So some could end up censoring themselves from the start too. With that said, I couldn't disagree more with those who keep claiming waifus are being destroyed by the West and whatever nonsense, as if Sony's censorship was such a huge issue, or that every single Japanese game with fan service was systematically affected, as if they disappeared from PS4 and Vita. Well, that's an odd take, because above he is complaining about Sony censorship. He even says, for over a year now, Sony has been doing this thing, you know? But then down here he says, as if Sony's censorship was such a huge issue. So, again, I don't know if this is the translation wording this in a strange way, or if his take is just bizarre, but this comes off as a double standard to me. It's like, okay, in Japan we can rant about Sony, but if you're a Westerner, you can't? And I know it's not exactly what he's saying, but I think that's a reasonable implication to find in what he is saying. I mean, I understand what he's saying on a level, maybe. Is he saying that the issues are being blown out of proportion? Because I would raise the question, there's other issues going on too. Like, do you know about all the localization issues? Do you know about all the subtitle changes and script changes from companies like Funimation and all that? Does he know about all this stuff going on? Or is he just talking about Sony? Maybe he's out of the loop about all the stuff going on here in the West. I don't really know. Could be translation, could be a bad take, could be misinformed, which could be a part of a bad take. Or maybe he has a very fair point. I just don't really see it as a very fair point when above, like I said, he gets to talk about Sony there. And also, this is a bit of a straw man. I mean, how many people are literally saying waifus are being destroyed by the West? That's not the complaint I'm seeing so much because, well, the waifus aren't being destroyed. What is being destroyed is your intellectual property, though. Maybe you'd want to know about that. You don't know about that? Well, you might want to look into that some more. Why don't you do that? I'm not talking to him per se, but, I mean, this guy's being silly if he doesn't think Japanese IP is being changed by Westerners in a negative way that actually damages the goodwill and damages the IP. Might want to consider all of that. Again, I am reading all of this with a big grain of salt, though. And they end by saying, Fate Extra Record has no platforms or release date estimate yet, but I'll be coming to the current gen platforms and a Steam release is likely as well. You can read all the details on the announcement through our previous coverage. And that raises another question. If a game developer is complaining about Sony, hypothetically, but they also go out of their way to release their game on Sony when they don't have to, again, hypothetically, let's say they can release it on computer, Nintendo, and Xbox. And they don't have to release it on Sony, but they want more money. They want that sales. They want the sales of the people who have PlayStations and want to get it on PlayStation. So they bend the knee to Sony. And then the consumers, maybe the product gets censored on that platform. Well, whose fault is it really? Is it really Sony's fault if the developer openly was okay, or not the developer per se, but the company behind the game was okay with Sony doing that to get some more money? Then is it really Sony's fault? Honestly, I think about half and half, not right down the middle, 50-50, but on some level, that's where you could have a debate. Who's more at fault? I don't know who's more at fault or less at fault, but I do think both are at fault on a level. The company that's okay with that and wants that extra money, despite maybe damaging the goodwill of the customers and giving them a inferior product, and also Sony for their nonsensical censorship. Makes no sense to me, and that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below about all of that. I will also say this, because it's a great example I've used before. Going back to Rooster Teeth, you have these people who ardently defend Rooster Teeth despite their numerous mistakes, and they use this excuse. Well, you can't blame Rooster Teeth because the bad decisions that they're being forced to make come from AT&T. First of all, you don't know that. That's not the main point, though. The main point is this. Absolutely is Rooster Teeth still, absolutely should they still be held accountable. Because guess what? They chose to sell their equity. They chose to sell ownership of their company to AT&T. They chose that route. So why should I not hold them accountable for their own decisions? That's not how this works, in my humble opinion. And that's the video, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Overall, not a great topic, though. Kind of some sad news here. Oh, well. You know, it's good and bad, I guess. Good that they're taking notice. The framing here, though, was odd. I guess we'll see where this goes. And, yeah, thanks for tuning in. Catch you tomorrow. Probably just these 2 segments today. I got to handle some real-life stuff, go to the store and all that. Annoying, real, boring world. Catch you guys tomorrow.